Sarah, I've been suggesting this interstitial every October.
For years. And here we are. Eventually we get to it. As long as these dummies listen to us.
Exactly. Sooner or later, all the ideas will come.
I call you dummies with love, everyone. But, like, surely you have better things to do than listen to us every week.
No, you don't. This one's going to be amazing. So I am actually not a big Halloween person. I don't really, like, get into the season that much. I don't really like dressing up in costumes. I think that's my problem. But I said to Sarah a couple of years ago, we should do, like, as for Halloween, an interstitial where we only talk about characters either named devil, the word devil, or like hell or demon or whatever is in the title. I mean, like
devil adjacent
books. Yes.
So headphones in if you're in a Christian church.
Yes, you were about to be smoted.
Maybe leave is what we're suggesting.
Step outside. Step away from wherever lightning.
God, imagine listening to Fated Mates in a Christian church. Listen, if you do that every week, you give us a jingle.
Don't bring your lightning bolts over here, everybody.
I want to know all about it. If you are a man of the cloth and you listen to Fated Mates, I want to know.
Sure.
Welcome, everyone, to Fated Mates. I'm Sarah McLean. I read romance novels, and I write them.
And I'm Jennifer Prokop, a romance reader and editor. And my voice, I know, still sounds not quite as good, but so much better.
We're moving in the right direction.
Yes.
I told him before we started recording, she sounds like a sexy smoker.
As opposed to, I'm actually weeks away from dying of emphysema, right?
Yeah. Which isn't funny.
No,
but
I'm sorry.
She does sound like a sexy smoker, which is a little funny.
Yeah.
Jen, I know you don't want to do it, but we're going to do it because we're 6 years in, and
yes.
I get to make decisions too sometimes.
Oh boy.
Everyone, it's past already, so you can't embarrass her.
It's past. It's over.
But on Monday,
it was a big birthday. We're just going to leave it at that.
It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what kind of birthday. All birthdays are big birthdays.
For some of you, that's true.
Jen doesn't like her birthday.
I'm not a birthday person.
It's a thing, but anyway, everyone please tell Jen happy birthday. You don't have to like message her or anything. Just say it right now out loud wherever you are in church.
Put it on Twitter because then it won't bother me because I'll never see it because Twitter's so broken right now.
Twitter seems very broken. I have not been online very much at all on any of the platforms over the last couple of weeks. So every platform feels like kind of weird when I open it up once a day or whatever, and it's just like a mass of like weird random. I think all the algorithms are confused by me now.
Sure, they're like, who are you?
I've confused the AI.
I had a really good day the day the Aces won the WNBA championships because that was like fun. There was a lot of fun Twitter things. Mm-hmm. And then the next day I think I confused it again because I ranted, believe it or not, about a Reacher thing. There was this article in the Washington Post.
About the brother
writing the books. And I was like, this article is like bullshit from top to bottom, everybody. Here's why I was mad. I'm going to just like keep it brief. Number one is it was kind of like started off with like basically like praising Lee Child, what a great writer he is, how important it is when you're writing for genre fiction that like, you know, a lot of people are like, this is the only book I read in a year is a Reacher book. How important it is to like, you know, be a certain kind of writer. Then there's like a casual, like not so casual actually, just like bam slur on Colleen Hoover and her readers just out of nowhere.
Why?
Like,
what's that got to do with anything? Why are you going to bring her into it?
Exactly my fucking
Why are you going to bring us into it?
Like, I was like, this is why romance readers are constantly in a defensive crouch because any old place, you might just take a punch in the face.
We're just casually hanging out in Reacherland.
Yes. But then I was really like, this is bullshit. So then the end of the article is basically like, now the brother's taking over. And they're like,
I mean, he has a name.
Sure, whatever.
I shouldn't probably call him the brother, but I get it.
I'm mad.
I called him the brother first. This is not a knock on you.
Anyway, Andrew Child, the brother.
Andrew Child. That wasn't his name, though. He wrote books under a different name, I think.
There's Lee Child's not Lee Child's name either. Doesn't matter. Then at the end, they're like, it doesn't matter as long as the character lives on it. And I was like, wait, is the writing really fucking important or not, you jackasses? So basically, the whole thing made me mad. And I just
How
was
do you
like,
and Ernie feel? Do you have like a support text?
Yes,
going?
I sent it to Ernie, and he was like, I can't read it. And I was like, it's a gift article from the Washington Post. He was like, okay.
Does Ernie like that he's like a character in our play?
He does. He loves it every time we mention him. Also, as you know, he's obsessed with Eric's voice.
He really likes it when we put out.
He's behind, so he's right now on those episodes, and he's like, "Ooh, Eric for 50 seconds this morning," and I was like, "You two are never allowed to meet, you fucking weirdo."
That's weird. But is he in Chicago?
No, he lives in San Francisco.
Oh, then we probably won't meet.
Exactly,
it's fine. Go there together.
It's fine. He's a delightful human. He and his husband just bought a new house. The baby's going to preschool. It's a great time in the life of a young family. Exactly.
Anyway, well, there's that. Can I tell you about my soccer situation?
Yes.
Which is that, have you watched this Beckham documentary yet?
No. Sorry, I have
not. I know.
But I did watch something. Oh, I was watching WNBA basketball.
No, you have this whole TV thing.
I know, I'm sorry.
But I do know that you like
I would watch that
soccer too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, well, I mean, not that women's soccer has anything to do with David Beckham, so let's just set that aside. But the point is, I watched 4 episodes. It's 4 episodes. And I feel like you and Mr. Reed's romance would enjoy it because Eric was like, I'm not, he sat on the couch. And, you know, he often sits down on the other end of the couch for me. And he like grumps at me. I don't know if anybody else out there is married to a person who grumps at them, but surely not.
I don't want to talk about the past few weeks of my life, everybody.
So he grumps at me when I choose the TV. But, you know, it's better than watching, like, whatever the show we're watching is, like, just shooting into our eyeballs for the 43rd time. So I was like, we're going to watch this documentary about David Beckham. And he was like, why? And I was like, because everybody says it's great. Kate Claiborne said it was great. We're going to watch it. And he was like, well, I'll sit here, but I probably won't be interested.
I've heard it's so good.
It's so good. And also, like, David Beckham's like a decent person. And so, at least, I mean, who the hell knows? But comes off as like a fairly sort of down-to-earth, like, guy who gets that he has had this, like, extraordinary life. And I really enjoyed it. And so I would say, if you are a sports person, I think you'll enjoy it because it's, like, very much about, like, sports and teams, and it does this cool thing. Okay, I'm going to tell you something that it does, and I think you'll enjoy this part the best.
Okay.
It took me a while to figure out what exactly I was looking at, and then when I figured it out, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So obviously, soccer involves games or matches.
That's true.
Or world football, football, it involves games or matches. And so, and these are like, you know, the greatest football players in the world at this time. Like, he's still friends with all of them, right?
Right.
And so throughout the documentary, there are these moments where the camera is super duper tight on their faces. Like, and so it's, you know, they're like barely their whole head in frame. And, you can see that they're talking. They're sort of like and so at first you're like, they're just remembering that one match that like changed everything, or that time he kicked the ball and it did the whatever thing, because he was, you know, truly great. And then by like the end of the first episode, I was like, oh no, they're watching the games.
They're matches. Like, watching a film.
And the camera is, so you're seeing them watching the match, and so you can see they're like memories floating through their head, and they're like cool smiles, and like all their feelings are happening on their face because the camera is so tight on them as they relive the experience of like the game. It was great.
That's cool.
Anyway,
I did watch TV. When I was really sick, I watched 3 episodes of a show, which for me, everybody is like, I don't know, like mainlining crack. And I watched the 3 episodes of that documentary on Apple Plus called The Supermodels. Have you watched this?
No.
I was going to say this for Banter Plus, everybody, but I'll talk about it now. It's about...
Tell everybody what Banter Plus is first.
Oh, we have a Patreon. And once a month, we have a bonus episode where we just banter. Like, if you like what we're doing now, we do it for a whole hour. And we have to usually keep a list.
Some people hate what we're doing now, and we
I know they're like,
but you know what?
They're like, that's not a draw. But anyway, they're like, skip, fast forward. So we keep a list of like things that come up that we think would be good for Banter Plus. And in this case, it's about the era of supermodels. Naomi Campbell. Oh, yeah. Linda Evangelista.
Oh, wait, I've seen ads for this.
Cindy Crawford. who else? I feel like there are 4 of them. Oh, and
There are Linda Evangelista.
Linda Evangelista, Naomi Crawford.
Yes.
I can't remember her name, but it's like another white woman. They were all in that George Michael video. Anyway, it's like fascinating because it was such a time, right? Like that era of like supermodels. And it was really fascinating to sort of like kind of go back to that time, but also like repellent. I don't know how else to describe it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just because it's like the way, I don't know, like just like that era and the way like, you know, the price of physical beauty for these women.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
also like the price of their physical beauty on the culture, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, have you seen, there's been this sort of a couple of things that have come out about how Gen X has like, we have body issues. I mean, everybody has body issues, but we have pretty severe body issues. And part of the reason why we have such severe body issues is because like in the zeitgeist, like the movies that we were all ingesting when we were in our teens and early 20s were like all about like how people were so fat. And they're like
so skinny.
Their bodies are not of size at all. And so like there's just this like sense of just body dysmorphia just in the ether.
Yeah, just like how this is how beautiful people looked, right? Mm-hmm. But it was what's really interesting is those women in particular were not like the really waif, like the Kate Moss era. Christy Turlington, thank you. It was like right there. The waifs that came after, like Kate Moss, right, who famously or infamously said,
like Cindy Crawford was like a normal.
Yeah, I mean, she was not normal, everybody, but she had like
she had like thighs and an ass,
and
not, again,
tits,
not like,
right? Yeah, totally.
Not like my ass, but
right? No, but I mean, so it was really interesting to sort of. That's kind of the last one I watched. There was like one more about like that transition to like those. Very like the waif women, like Kate Moss. I mean, I remember when she said, like Linda Evangelista is really famous for saying, like, I don't get out of bed for less than $10,000 a day, right? Like in terms of like the work
Kate
I can
Moss
do.
Said the thing about skinny. Yeah,
nothing
tastes as good.
Nothing tastes as good as being skinny feels. Yeah. Right. And so it's really interesting, I think. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I was also like, I mean, I enjoyed it. I watched 3 episodes of show. So
yeah,
I think there's one more.
I mean, that whole time period was just wild.
Yeah.
And also, of course, it was wild because it was our youth and lives.
Yes,
like
of
there
course.
are so many in the Beckham documentary. There are so many like you see the Spice Girls like behind the scenes just hanging out, and like it's charming. Also, Victoria Beckham's really charming, and like in her like completely disconnected,
from reality way.
You were a pop star, and now you're married to David Beckham kind of way. But I was really charmed. I mean, like, now that I also feel like we're in a position now where it's like the golden age of documentary.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. Yeah.
At first, I think we were all raised with this idea of like, you watched a documentary only if it was about something you were interested in.
Right.
And now I'm like, if somebody's like, oh no, you got to watch that documentary because it's fascinating, then I'm in. So thanks, Netflix.
I think about like the supermodel part is, I mean, it talks about them and kind of what they wanted and like, their journeys, but also like how, the biggest fashion houses were run by men and how eventually these men got really angry that these women, these models were the stars. And that was a part that was really fascinating to me is how the backlash came from these fashion houses that were pissed when it said things like, Cindy Crawford in blah, 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 as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the part I did.
Really, really interesting. That makes me think. So last weekend I was in Virginia with my brother and we were sitting together and we were talking about how when he was young, his room was full of posters of like models and like attractive women. I remember he had the back of his door had a full length, like a to scale,
right.
Like
right.
full scale model poster of Vanna White in a shower. Like
sure.
This was the time, you guys. There was a time when Vanna White was not old.
Right.
But, and also, like, he is a Dallas Cowboys fan. And as you know, I am not a big football fan, but, like, we were there and I was there for the weekend and I was, like, trying to find ways to, like, entertain my brother. And so we talked a lot about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And then I was like, we were just talking about the Dallas Cowboys and how he had, like,
those cheerleaders.
Sort of humongous poster. I mean, not a normal poster size.
Right.
Of the whole Dallas Cowboys cheerleading team. And so we were talking about that and the Laker girls and how they sort of happen at the same time. This, like, put hot women on the field. And not that cheerleaders didn't exist prior to that, but, like,
it was different, though. It felt really different.
Different. And it felt like those, like, Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, the Laker girls, and, like, the supermodels were all happening at the same time. Because now, like, I don't think professional cheerleaders are a thing.
Well, they're different. They're like these super athletes and gymnasts. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like
you
a
don't
different...
buy a poster of, like, a cheerleading team, like a football cheerleading squad. Well, because now they have more respect, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you know what? I'm, like, kind of ashamed of myself. Like, I was one of those people for sure for a long time who was kind of like, cheerleaders and dance teams are stupid, you know? And then when I started teaching, I had a lot of my students would go on to high school and be part of those, you know, either a cheerleader or a dance squad or whatever. And I really realized, like, they just love dancing. And they're athletes. And this is like an outlet for that, what they're good at, right? Like, they're not going to be ballerinas, but they have this training. And I was really kind of ashamed of myself for how judgmental I had been. But you have to understand, I think growing up at that time, you understood, like, these were like bimbos, right? Like, the way that these women were portrayed.
Hyper-sexualized.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
My brother had a poster of them all on his wall, and it wasn't because he really enjoyed the articles, right? Like, it was, you know. But what's really interesting about it is, like I said, now that's, like, it's such an interesting snapshot of a time.
Yeah.
When, like, these talented, because, you know, the Laker girls, right? It was Paula Abdul, wasn't it? Who was like
led the choreography
Laker
of that.
Girl
Yeah.
choreographer.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, again, like, she's this amazing choreographer, right? And that's like, where are you going to go do that work?
On, like, cheerleaders in the 90s. I want that. I guess it was sort of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. It's interesting. So anyway.
My brother in Rhode Island, loving the Dallas Cowboys. And he was like, I always really liked the Dallas Cowboys. And I was like, yeah, I know why. And he was like, oh, it wasn't because of that. And I was like, I don't believe you. So,
well, America's team. So
I was like, Mark, they helped though, right? He was like, well, they didn't hurt.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Megan Montgomery, author of Undertaking Love. The first I want to say this because I love it. The first in the Last Responders series.
I do think that's super charming. This is the perfect book for our Halloween episode. It's about an undertaker. It's actually about two undertakers. Our heroine, Bethany, used to be a very successful model, but her dream job has always been funeral director, which is curious. But she has these plans to, like, turn the whole funeral directing world on its head with eco-friendly innovation and death positivity. And so she has this opportunity where she's able to purchase half a Victorian era mortuary. The problem is this mortuary comes with a bitter business partner who is committed to definitely not changing anything about his family business. This one is an enemies to lovers romance, a rivals to lovers workplace romance. We have a very bright, sort of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed heroine who is fiercely feminist and has a big ideas about the future of about her own future and the future of her business, and an ultra grumpy hero who is described as a grumpy, monkish misanthrope who resents her for buying his birthright.
Just call it stern funeral director daddy, it sounds like.
That's right. And they end up at a hot mortuary conference in New Orleans. I should say it's not billed as a hot conference. It's a mortuary conference that gets a little hot.
Because of these two and their amazing chemistry. So if you would like to check out Undertaking Love, It is available now, and you can read it with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited. Thank you to Megan Montgomery for sponsoring this week's episode. I want to start off with you and Wicked and the Wallflower.
Don't you think we should talk about just like why they're hot?
But I think that's why I want to start with you. Like, you only get one, right? I mean, how did
only get one?
So that's, I think, the part, like,
you can't devil twice.
Right. And so that's the part that I'm kind of interested in is when you look at...
Unless you're Kleypas, who's deviled in 2 genres.
Yes. I think, and that's the thing I also want to talk about, which is like so common in historical. Now when you find them, they're often like motorcycle club, romance, like something like that, right? Contemporaries a little bit sometimes, but not as much. Like, right? There's a couple. So I'm really fascinated to hear about, like, I think my idea was you only get one. So let's talk about what the devil does and how you knew it was time.
Well, listen, I mean, I think you only get one because I think there is a perception, or certainly for me. So I wrote a devil. My devil is Wicked and the Wallflower. It is the first book in my Bare Knuckle Bastards series. It was intentional. I was like, I'm going to do this series. I had this like very clear sort of fairy tale idea for it. I knew it was going to be a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. I was like, if ever I've written a character who like can really like own this name and this experience, it's this one. And I want to say, I'll tell that story in a second, but remind me that I was going to tell a story about Lisa Kleypas. But I have been reading historicals for so long. And if you have been reading historicals, like us forever, every huge historical writer has written a devil. Whether or not they are called devil, like Devil Cynster in Stephanie Lawrence's Devil's Bride, or whether you're talking about like St. Vincent in Devil in Winter by Lisa Kleypas, or Elizabeth Hoyt has her devil, and Lorraine Heath
Devil of Downtown. So Joanna Shoup.
I think Joanna and I were writing those books. Like, I think we were it was close to each other. Like we put those books out like one right after the other. But everybody has one. And so it feels like, and this, I do think that this like partially this is an echo of Hare. Hare has this book called Devil's Cub, which is, I mean, listen, everybody is going to come for me, but like a lot of people, widely, it is one of her most beloved books.
People do say, if people have read Hare, that's the one that often you hear of that they like.
Yeah, and he is called the Devil's, that's his name, Devil's Cub, because he is like the very stiff, like stern child of like a wild father who was referred to as, devil, whatever. So, I just think but I think that this is, again, it goes back to this thing that we talk about all the time with historicals that, you really can play with arrogance in a different way in historicals than you can in other genres. I think you can play with the alpha, the sort of like hyper alpha, without having to like give him super duper motivation. In historicals, I think you can dial a historical hero up to 11 in a way that you cannot most contemporary. I'm not talking about like now in 2023, there's like dark romance. You talked about it. Like there's motorcycle clubs and these sort of like mafia, the stuff that's sort of around the edges, but like a traditional down the middle. Emily Henry is never going to write a devil.
No.
I mean, like, because
unless it's like ironic
how it works. Right. And so I think in historicals, there is this sort of a family tree of devils, right? Like it's there. And so there are the primordials, the ones that you think back on and you say like that text was seminal for me. No pun intended. And then
you intended it, Sarah.
And then, I mean, I always intend it when I talk about seminal texts and romance. And then you set yourself, I mean, but I would be lying if I said that you're not aware of the weight of what you're doing when you're writing a devil. Because if you're not doing it right? Like there is a sense of like, I need my devil to like fit the pantheon of devils.
Yes.
Right? Like who has there been and how is he like put into the sky in a different way?
So for me, it's really funny because, so I was thinking about that. Like, so like what are the qualities of like the devil? And the reason that your devil is interesting to me is because he's not an aristocrat, right?
Right.
I mean, so in that way, you're really like staking out a little bit of an area. But in terms of his personality, he totally fits like the devil profile,
all,
right?
Power, money,
but
threat,
like, for me, the other like really key quality of the devil, it like a character named Devil in historical is like, this is the guy who you can imagine walking away from everything if he wanted to or needed to. Right? Like, like there's a way in which...
there's ennui, right? Like, that is the most important part. The sort of sense of like, first of all, he does not believe in goodness or kindness or decency, right? Because he's the devil.
Yes.
And he's deeply unmoved by humanity. Right? I mean, like, he's not the worst guy.
No. Like, I mean, exactly. That's the thing.
He's certainly not going to like leap to, aid unless he's really put in a position of having to.
Right. And I mean, I think that's the key. It's like when you think, you just hear, oh, these characters are named devil, you think, oh, they're going to be like the worst ones. And it's not. It's more about disconnection almost, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like they're essentially like the morality chain, but historical, but make it historical in some ways, right?
And you can't discount the connection to sin, right?
Oh,
like, they also have done everything.
Of course.
And they can't
nothing shocking for them,
be
right?
Shocked.
Yeah.
So they have, and often, I mean, like, you see devils, you see devils in books about casinos or books about, like, you want, like, there's a lush vice to most of them, right? Like, there is a sense of power that comes from darkness.
Like this sense that they have, I don't know, like taken some big risks and won, right? With Wicked Cynsters, it's like they all went off to Waterloo, but they all came back, right? Yep. And Devil in Winter he's like, he made his big play to like steal Lillian away from Westcliff, and he lived to tell the tale. So I think the other thing is it's like there's this sense of them like, I don't know, like living past the acceptable boundaries of whatever world they live in.
Yep.
Right? And that's the cause of the ennui too. It's like, right? Like I have seen everything and I've done everything and I'm past all of that. I'm just, you know what I mean? I love them. I love these fucking men. It's fine.
And that's the thing. Like the promise of the premise is right there in the character name.
Yeah.
Right. And so when a devil is misused, it's like a romance. It's like a romance felony.
Your romance own goal.
Straight to jail.
Yeah. Like, what'd you do there? Right? No cinnamon rolls named Devil, everybody. Just don't do it.
And of course, there's the other piece of this, which is the other day I was talking to Louisa Edwards about something. And I was like, we were talking about, whatever. And I was like, I don't know, maybe we should just like give him a nickname. And she was like, you love a nickname. And I do love a nickname, which is, I think, also like my deep, unabiding love of historical romance.
Yeah,
I love a nickname. But that's why they're all like the Devil Duke, the Devil Earl, Devil,
of course,
Devil Cynster, whose name is not Devil, but I can't. Who can even
Sebastian,
imagine?
My friend, it's Sebastian.
Of course, it's Sebastian.
Of course, it is.
Listen, that book,
perfect. No notes. Wait,
she really does deliver on every. She really writes like whole new playbook.
That book is amazing. Wait,
We did a deep dive on that book.
Yes, we did, because I love that book.
That's called Devil's Bride. And it's a delight. But, like, yeah.
Wait,
go ahead.
I want to tell one other really funny story before we dive into back to our Discord. Because I was like, I'm going to go ahead and do a search for devil and see if anything comes up, like if anybody recommended any books or, just like sort of popped up. And I forgot I read this story. It's really funny last week. So Robin is one of our like really active people on the Discord, and people were talking about, I don't even know like what brought it up, like being at camp and like the trouble people got into. And she mentioned that like she never went away to camp, but there was this one camp where everyone called this like pond creek where like the older kids would go, the devil's bathtub. And she said, quote unquote, I never went to camp, but I've heard stories. And then like people were like, wait, why is it called the devil's bathtub? She's like, why do you think? And then she said, I'm sure the adults didn't call it that. And I was like, that's amazing. The devil's bathtub. You're going to get in trouble.
Today, I don't know that they would come up with the devil's bathtub.
Hilarious, right? And I was like, it made me laugh so hard. And it was funny when I first read it. I was like, be right back. I'm renaming this channel The Devil's Bathtub, which I never did, but I really feel like I could make a case for it.
For Halloween.
Yes, The Devil's Bathtub. Isn't that great?
Yeah, perfect. I mean, there's something really compelling about it. It is, of course, morality chain, like you said. Because it is, we would be remiss if we didn't at some point talk about books in which the character was, in fact, the devil.
Well, I think we're going to have some big buckets here, right?
And so they're like fundamentally, if you're talking about morality chain, like that's a piece of it too. Like bringing the fallen angel back to light.
Yes. Listen.
Making the devil fall in love with you.
Sure.
Listen, no, I want that. I want that I want that in every single romance novel I read. He doesn't have to be named Devil, but that's what I want. That's the vibe.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, if you've got devil in there, you better deliver. This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by Alexandra Harvey, author of The Countess Caper. And I just want to say, serendipitous is our name this week because it is book 2 of a series called The Dainty Devils.
It's all coming together.
I love it.
Also, Jen, I feel like if we were on a game show right now, it would be one of those things where there was like a counter and a bell rang every time something great was happening in this book.
Yes.
Or every time something that really scratches Sarah's itch happens in this book.
It'd just be all bells in the background.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Lady Tessa Kilkenny lives in a ramshackle manor house, which is full of women who have nowhere else to go.
Amazing.
And she will do anything in her power to keep these women safe, including being a lady highwayman.
I mean, listen, I'm in
one of these ladies needs to get to a midwife immediately because there is a baby coming and they need a carriage. And there happens to be an earl who lives down the street and he has a carriage ripe for the stealing. So Tessa heads out to steal his carriage. Of course, this grumpy reclusive earl is not having any of this nonsense.
Sure, of course not.
Highwaywoman stealing his carriage.
To have a baby be born.
But it just so happens that he's ready to make a deal because he needs a wife. And so that all works out, except she's keeping a lot of secrets. Like she's fighting off housebreakers. She's stealing from earls and viscounts. She has a house rigged with traps to discourage unwanted visitors. She's clearly in over her head, or is she? Yes. And she's definitely keeping secrets from him because she doesn't trust him because patriarchy. So he needs to do everything he can to earn her trust, show her that he will never let anything harm her, and basically be hers forever. And I, for one, am buying this book right now.
His name is Rourke Noble, so I feel very certain that it will all work out in the end. With a name like that, he's got to be a good guy. So if you would like to check out The Countess Caper, again, a dainty devil, you can get it with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited, or it is also available in paperback. Thank you to Alexandra Harvey for sponsoring this week's episode. You devil, you. If you were looking in like the line of Harlequins, where are you going to find devils?
Oh, in Presents.
In Presents, right? Yeah. Like, there are no devils in Harlequin Desire, but man, you look at Harlequin Presents.
That's me a hard one.
For fucking decades, there's been devils in Harlequin Presents, right? All the way back to Carol Mortimer and Ann Mather. And then, you've got Caitlin Cruz still writing devils. So That's the other thing that was really making me laugh is like you even know like which bucket you need to go to if you want the devilish ones in Harlequin. Get thee to a presents, my friend.
Immediately.
Immediately. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200. So I was also kind of laughing when I was thinking about like, so it's like the places that archetype lives are the really like high drama, high angst, right? Like that sense of everything being high stakes, right?
Because you cannot write a normal man in 2023 who is also a devil. Like they're just like those two things do not go together. Like,
no.
There just is no room for somebody who has to be as traumatized and have like the most intense past that you would need in order for you to function in the world as the literal devil.
Yeah, no.
There's just no room for that kind of past in a contemporary romance novel. Like a straight contemporary romance novel. I mean, again, this is caveating. I'm sure there's like I'm gonna Google it right now. I'm sure there's a book called Mafia Devil. There are probably about 40.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because I do have some ones we're gonna talk about before we go on to like maybe like talk about historicals or whatever.
What? There is no book called Mafia Devil.
Well, listen, how can that be?
So if you're out there writing mafia romance, I just gave you a gift.
I also want to shout out one of my all-time favorite romance anthologies, and it is still available. You can get it for $5. Was called The Devil's Doorbell, a different kind of devil. As I'm sure you, or maybe you don't know, this is slang for the clitoris.
I did not know it, but I clocked it right there.
You're like, I got it right there. So that one has quite a few favorites. Em O'Keefe, Anne Calhoun, Megan Mulry, who you like. I know. It's terrific. And so it's like, it came out, I think, in, 2017. It's a great anthology. I think there's like 5 or 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. 7 little novellas in The Devil's Doorbell. Just in case you want to just mix it up.
I'm just sending a quick text to Mila Finelli to say, Mafia Devil is
untaken. Please get on it.
Somehow no one has written that.
Okay, so we should start off with historicals, obviously, right? Since we spent so much time.
We should.
Devil's Bride, we just sort of talked about. We had a deep dive. It is one of my favorites.
Oh, mine too.
Right?
Before Eric started editing the podcast, before I started writing romance novels, Eric knew the name of one romance hero.
You said this.
And it was Wicked Cynsters.
Sure. What a name. Name is destiny, right?
And I remember him saying to me at some point, like, Devil Sinister, are you serious? And it was the first time that I clocked that Cynster was supposed to be a sinister homonym or whatever it's called.
Homophone.
And, yeah. So,
amazing.
Devil Cynster, a legend.
He's back from Waterloo, him and all of his cousins.
Here, the Waterloo thing. So yeah, he goes to war, he comes back, they're all like ruined by war. It's a very like Tommy Shelby and Peaky Blinders-y vibe, these devils. Yeah.
These cousins, yeah.
My devil is a full-on Tommy Shelby and Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
It's funny because long before she was the artist to the stars, Lenny Kaufman was just like she made fan art for romance novels, and she made this of the bastards.
Amazing.
And it's very clearly Cillian Murphy there as Tommy Shelby playing the part of Devil.
Cillian. He is, I don't know, like there's a big storm. He finds a beautiful woman, Honoria. And it turns out that she is perfectly suited for him, comes from some rich family, whatever. She thinks she wants to be a governess. He's like, you are going to be my duchess. Uh-huh. It's terrific. The whole thing is fucking great. I don't even know what else to tell you about it. It's like,
I don't even know what to say.
I don't even know what to say except it's perfect.
Go listen to the deep dive. It's great. It's by Stephanie Lawrence. when you've read this one, then you've got like a whole family full of them. She just keeps going. Energizer Bunny.
These men
the Cynsters
have never felt a feeling.
Not one of her heroes has ever felt a feeling.
No.
And I don't mind it. And then there's, of course, we have to go immediately to Devil in Winter.
Yeah, of course.
Now, listen, Sebastian St. Vincent is not a devil in text. But he is a devil at heart.
Yeah, fair.
And I think that if you're going to talk about devils, this is one of those, like, the cornerstone texts. We begin the book, if you've read the whole series, in the prior book, he literally attempted he was the dark moment at the end of the book.
Right.
He literally attempted to kidnap the heroine, and the hero had to, like, go save her. And, but now he's back and he's reforming himself. But he's like, talk about a person who just, like, I do not believe in love. I do not believe in feelings. The only feeling that I have ever felt that is valuable is orgasm.
Yes, sure.
And then he marries this, like, he has like a very quick marriage, an anvil marriage in Scotland with this young, a young wallflower who is absolutely the wrong person for him in every possible way, except he suddenly is like, I only ever want to have sex with this woman, my wife. And she's like, I think we're good.
We did it once because we had to, but now it's done.
And then she's like, no more. No, we're not doing that ever again. And he's like, what? And they make a sex deal.
Yes.
Which is sort of probably the hardwire directly to my soul for my love of sex deals. They make a sex deal where she says, okay, well, if you can go, is it a month?
No, longer.
It's longer.
I think, yeah.
I don't know how long it is.
I think she suggests like something a year, and he's like, I could never. What?
Have
my
you
penis?
seen my virility?
Yes.
He's like, it's
unnatural,
unwell, not to release multiple times a day. Anyway, very virile.
Sure.
They make a sex deal, and she basically is like, okay, if you can stay celibate for X amount of time, I honestly don't remember, then maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah. This part's great. It's so great.
Ridiculous and also amazing. And right now, Devil in Winter is for sale for $2.99 in ebook.
Perfect. So then in the Ravenel series, Sebastian.
Well, yeah, that begins
Well, a couple books in, he reappears. Then we have the Devil in Spring, which is one of their oldest son, who is the devil because he likes dirty sex. And then you find out it's like not really that dirty, but whatever. I love you still, Lisa. And then there's like Devil's Daughter and a bunch of, and then, he's
deviling in bed with, no. And then, So that's a whole series. But also Lisa Kleypas, she couldn't leave Devils.
Because you have a contemporary, but I want to go back to historical after, so don't go ahead.
No, I'm just putting all of Lisa together.
Okay. She couldn't let it go. She probably just wrote a contemporary because she's like, I need another devil.
She was like, I gotta get more devils out. And so she wrote Blue-Eyed Devil, which is actually my favorite of the contemporaries.
Okay.
Which is this check your content warnings for this one. The heroine was in an abusive marriage and her husband sexually assaulted her. So like there are real content issues here, and Lisa really threads the needle, I think, really beautifully, but your mileage may vary. But this book is about, let me just make sure, but I'm pretty sure his name is Hardy Cates.
Oh yeah, it's Hardy Cates, right?
It's Hardy Cates, right?
Yeah.
This book is about Hardy Cates, who is the like one that he like misses out on the heroine of the book before. And so like he's hard and grumpy, and he doesn't believe in feelings or love because he should have had that girl who he'd loved from childhood. But instead, he falls so hard for
Haven,
heroine of Blue-Eyed Devil.
Yeah, Haven Travis.
That's right. Oh my God, Haven. Name is destiny. No one does it better than Kleypas.
Nobody. So yeah,
Anyway,
that's a good one too.
Historicals.
The Devil of Downtown is
Perfect.
one of my absolute. I mean, and it's funny because I love The Prince of Broadway, which is Fuck Yeah Florence's book. Mm-hmm. Shout out, be in her books. So in the Uptown Girls series, there's 3 sisters. So it's the Rogue of Fifth Avenue, The Prince of Broadway, The Devil of Downtown. And I love Florence's book. This is Florence and Clay, but I reread The Devil of Downtown a lot. And this is Justine, the youngest sister. And one of my favorite things about this book is, like, Justine is just like this total do-gooder. And her older sisters are like, what are you doing? And I love it because I was like, wait, those two just ran amok through New York for 2 books.
Very protective,
but they're very protective of and obnoxious to Justine, who's like, what the hell? And she falls in love with, he is like the king of the lower Manhattan. Jack
Mulligan.
God.
Such a good name.
It's such a good name.
Jack Mulligan.
And he is literally like, the minute he sees her, game over, right? But he puts up a good fight. I mean, he is just like, there's no way I can like this do-gooder who, is constantly like prancing around doing good. And he just cannot get enough of her.
But he can.
Oh, man, it's amazing.
And also, just FYI, everyone, in case you were wondering, he is, in fact, the Devil of Downtown.
Oh, yeah, he loves
if you know what I mean.
It's amazing.
And I think you do.
Yeah, I love this book so much. It is probably one of my favorite historical romances because I just found, like, his arc really interesting where you see him fighting his attraction to this do-gooder. And still, like, beating the shit out of anybody who gets near her, but also just being like, Justine, I love her so much. Also, it is super sexy. He has like a secret house essentially down in the village, what is now the village, and no one knows where like he really lives. And so at some point, Justine like gets dropped off and she's like in his home. And it is like this very, like, I think another part of these books that I really like is there's this sense of they all have their like lair, right? Like this like secret place that no one else ever sees them in. And Justine in his home is just like completes him. It's very sexy. It's very great. They have a lot of hot sex there. It's awesome.
So good.
Yeah. So I completely am obsessed with The Devil of Downtown, my fave too.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Monique Fisher, author of Hot for Teacher. How exciting.
It is exciting for me. This is the kind of Hot for Teacher I want to read, which is Latrice Richardson is a 38-year-old divorced single mother. She has an amazing career, a wonderful 8-year-old son named Quincy. What she doesn't have, right, is like a love life and a sex life. And so she does what any smart woman does, and she just finds herself a handsome stranger, Nathan Woodson, has a scorching hot one-night stand.
Yeah, get it.
She gets it, and she gets it. She's like never going to get it again. It's fine. Until one day she walks into her son's classroom and finds that beautiful man is now Quincy's teacher. Nathan, of course, is just like, I've landed my dream job, and how is this beautiful woman I just spent the best night of my life with the mother of one of my students? So these two are going to try and keep things professional.
No, though, that won't work.
That won't work. They've got nosy school moms on the prowl. That is so real. Of course they do,
because he's hot and single, and nosy school moms care.
Nosy school moms know how to be nosy. And so is this parent-teacher relationship too hot to handle? Find out if you love an older woman, younger man, secret lovers, and plenty of high heat in Hot for Teacher.
This book is released on October 29th as both an ebook and a paperback. You can pre-order it now or get it free with your monthly subscription to Kindle Unlimited. Thanks to Monique Fisher for sponsoring this week's episode. Well, we got to talk because literally everybody big has done a double. We got to talk about Lorraine Heath. So Lorraine Heath has a whole series, which is my favorite Lorraine Heath series. And I don't talk about it. I don't often like name this series as my favorite because I love all of Lorraine's books. But my favorite in its entirety is The Scoundrels of St. James. And it's a long ago series. And it begins with In Bed with the Devil. And basically, the whole series is inspired by, is it Oliver Twist, the one with Fagin? Or is that Great Expectations? I don't know. I'm showing my like lack of knowledge of
it's fine.
Dickens oeuvre. But anyway, it's the one with Fagin.
That motherfucker would have scored big in KU. I'm just saying, writing by the word and all.
Oh yeah, right. So okay, it's sort of a reimagining of it where there are all the kids who work for Fagin, and each one gets they're all like pickpockets together on the, like growing up on the streets in this sort of like very violent kind of London, and each one gets their happily ever after. But the first one, In Bed with the Devil, his name is he is a kid who grows up like everybody thinks he's like the worst of the lot, right? He's, possibly murdered people. He's definitely like stolen. He's been a thief. He's been a, just a rotten kid on the street because he's been like the like strongest arm of Fagin. And lo and behold, he's actually an earl. Like he was a kid who, got lost in the sauce and so at the beginning of the series, he is basically told like, hey, congratulations, you're an earl. And he's like, fuck everything. Like he just goes like kind of crazy. And he's like, I hate everything. I hate all of it. They think that so they call him the Devil Earl because they're pretty sure that he was like a monster on the streets and he definitely murdered someone. And he comes into the whole arc, kind of with this idea that he has always his whole life thought that he was going to marry a girl who's like also a member of this group of kids. So he hires Catherine, the heroine of this book, to basically like Pygmalion Fanny, this girl, into somebody who will be bright, and poised enough to be a countess. And of course, the whole thing goes awry. And then he and Catherine actually end up like wild for each other. And it's so sexy. And they are so drawn to each other from the absolute beginning of the book. And it is just perfect. And then it's also really lovely because you meet all the other kids from their like group and they all hang out together. And it does that sort of like, because here's the other thing about devils. They're never alone.
No. Right, of course.
Always have a crew.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
And it's usually like a bunch of other people who are equally as, disdainful of feeling and humanity. But there's this great moment at the beginning of this book where she shows up and she's like, I don't want you to get angry with me. Like, everybody calls you the Devil Earl. And he's like, and in his head, he's like, I would never be angry with you because I don't feel it. Like, I don't have feelings.
Yeah,
right. No capacity for human emotion.
Sure. Of course.
Like, I love it. Eat it up.
You're like, give me more. Right? Exactly.
There. It's Oliver Twist. Please, sir, may I have some more? Of course.
Exactly. Right back to the beginning. Elizabeth Hoyt probably has some devils, but I don't know.
Yes. The last book in Elizabeth Hoyt's Legend of the Four Soldiers series is called To Desire a Devil. And that here, oh my God, that's the one where the hero has been like in captivity. And he walks into that the one where wait, hang on. I just have to if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's got like the greatest beginning of any romance. So he has been like, people think he's dead. He's like been kept in captivity. He's basically wild. He's like a feral. He's basically a feral. But there's like a portrait of him on the wall of like the receiving room. And the heroine has been like talking to the portrait like every day since she moves into this house. The niece of the current owner, who is really only the current owner because, of course, like he's an evil uncle who like inherited, like basically they had this guy declared dead, or they were gonna, it might be like 6 years and 360 days.
Oh yeah,
like
right. One of those, yeah.
That 7-year marker. So he's about to become, this like bad dude is about to become the owner of this house and the Earl. And, but she's like been sort of in love with his portrait forever. They're having like a tea, or I can't remember. They're having some kind of party or gathering. And like, there's a commotion. It's the first chapter of the book. There's a commotion in the hallway. And he comes into the room like hairy and wild-eyed and like feral, and then like passes out at her feet. And she recognizes him from the portrait and is like, take him to the room so I can care for him. So listen.
I love it.
If you love her comfort, this one's for you too. Elizabeth Hoyt, this whole series is really terrific. It's where we start to see Elizabeth really start to like thread the needle on the mysteries that end up being a really, really big part of the next series, which is the one about the Batman.
Yeah. Okay.
What's that one?
I don't know.
Crap. Why did that just leave my head completely? Oh, Maiden Lane, of course.
Yeah, right. The Maiden Lane.
Maiden Lane, which is basically like Victorian Batman or Georgian Batman. They're all set in the 1700s.
Yeah.
Late
okay.
1700s.
So I think we've covered some historicals. So I want to talk to you a little bit. Oh, do you have more?
No, I mean, I always have more, but we don't have to do it.
Well, I mean, if there's one you think that is
that's
key.
fine.
Okay. I want to talk about like my strategy.
Does Beverly Jenkins have a devil?
I really did find myself thinking I was like, is this something only white ladies like?
Maybe.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, everybody.
I'm looking. No, it's just funny because you make a list of like the biggest authors, right?
I don't have an answer to that, but I will tell you my strategy. So this is like kind of a fun thing to do. Your content and devices is really like now, it's a picture of my reading life for the past 15 years. I think I got a Kindle in 2008 or 2009. And so if you go to your content and devices and just search a devil, it'll show you everything that like matches. And I was like, that's kind of a fun way to like figure out like what you've read, right? So, and this is where I found some of the contemporaries that I think would relate to this topic. Mm-hmm. So we have talked, again, extensively about my love for the Devil's Rock series by Sophie Jordan.
That was on my list, too. Sophie Jordan's Devil's Rock series.
Which is, the Devil's Rock is the name of the prison that all of the heroes spent some time in this prison. And those books are terrific. In particular, I like the first one, which is... there's like a riot at the prison.
Hell breaks loose, isn't it?
Yes, right. And is it all chained up? Wait, hold on.
Oh, it's not Hell Breaks. Oh, you're right. Hell Breaks Loose is the one that I like.
Is the one that's the other really good one, right? Where they're on the run. He's on the run with like the president's
here's my thing
daughter or
about
something.
these.
I don't know.
This whole series, it can't. Sophie predated the rise of the Colleen Hoover books, and it's a disappointment for me that more people who love Colleen haven't found Devil's Rock, because I do feel like, Avon, if you're listening to this episode, repackage those books, because just put those Colleen Hoover covers on them, because they would sell like hotcakes.
The first one's so good, right? Like, so Briar is a nurse at the prison, and she is super attracted to him, but then like really pissed at herself. She's like, that's not okay.
It is all chain lip.
Right. And then essentially he saves her during this like prison riot. And then like he gets out and they find each other and
goes to get her.
Oh man, it's so good. And then the one you like, and I also really like, Hell Breaks Loose.
Hell Breaks Loose is the one with the president's daughter.
Yes. Go for it. And then I actually love book number 3 too.
And then is it Beautiful Sinner, where they get trapped in the high school, like...
Yes.
arts and crafts room. No, the closet.
The closet, like the dark room or something, right?
It's like, no, it's like a janitorial closet.
Yes.
In the local high school. And they're trapped in there. Like they're there for there's some like, I don't know, what's it called? Some recital on a Friday night. And then the two of them, through a confluence of romance reasons, end up together in a dark janitorial closet for an entire weekend.
Yeah, it's great. I also love
terrific.
Fury on Fire, which is the one where they're next door neighbors. And she is like the sheriff's sister. And he is, just living his life. He is just like determined to live his life now that he's out and has, lots of women coming through, and she's kind of like.
But I also feel like he's like a welding artist.
Sure, who knows? I don't even remember.
Like Flashdance style.
He prances around with his shoulder off.
In Flashdance she works at a welder, doesn't she?
Yes, she's
by
a welder.
Day she's a Rosie the Riveter. By night she is a hawk.
So those are great. I also have one. This again, I would not have really remembered this except for my content search. And then I reread it this morning and I was like, this is fun. It's called Gridiron Bad Boy by Melissa Blue. And that's the title now. But when I bought it, it was called Devil of the Gridiron, which is why it popped up for me. And this is like, it's a couple bucks. It's worth your time, but it's maybe 100 pages. So it's just like really like insta-love. But it actually has this plot, which is he is this famous football player who has gotten into like a lot of hot water. There's like a sex scandal. Some of his texts became public. And he's like a real smartass during the post-game, interviews or whatever. So he gets drafted by a new team. But the deal is that he has to like play it really straight. Like, right, no more fooling around. And so 6 months in, it's this gala. And he is like kind of like, fuck it, I'm out of here. He can't take it anymore. And he like kind of goes out a door and he kind of storms through a door and accidentally knocks over this woman. And he's like, oh my God, the press is going to think that I like did this on purpose. And, she's a caterer and there's like food all over her and she has a bloody nose because I think he actually like the door hits her in the face. So he hands her his card and is kind of like, if there's anything I can do for you, I'm really sorry. And she volunteers at like a youth center and it's about to be shut down. So she calls him and is like, would you just come for an hour? Like, right? Like just to sort of like kind of get a little press and it's like a good cause. You don't have to actually give money. I mean, she's like, just come and kind of raise the profile. And he is so into her. And they basically like bang it out. They like leave from the thing, go have a sex weekend. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
And then the press gets wind of them and also like a situation with his old friend. But the whole thing is just like a quick 100-page like bang, 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 happily ever after. And the whole thing is like, again, like he has that exact historical profile, right? Like the ennui and the sort of being on the edge and I've done everything and seen everything. And then Charlotte comes along and he wants her. And it was great.
Love it. Okay. So are you done with contemporaries?
No, I have a couple more.
Go ahead.
Do you have any? Do you have contemporaries?
I don't have any. I mean, I have two that are, no, I don't. I have two paranormals.
Okay. And I don't have any paranormal. So you like, maybe I'll just round this up. Okay. So everybody knows I don't read books with cliffhangers. So I read the first book of this series and I enjoyed it a lot, but I'm sure they turned out great. It's called Deal with the Devil by Megan March. His name is Jericho Forge, which I'm sorry is a great romance name.
Yes.
And her name is
Jericho Forge, obviously.
Her name is India. She is she's like a professional poker player. Mm-hmm. This is like one of those romance plots, I'm going to admit, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you're just like, fine, this is the setup. Sure. Her sister has been kidnapped by bad guys. I don't really know why. She needs to come up with $10 million in 10 days. So she's going to essentially get herself into a really high stakes poker game that she knows she can win in order to like get this money. And Jericho Forge shows up and he was not supposed to. And he disrupts the whole night. And basically at the end of the night, she loses, but he is like, well, you can put yourself in the pot, right? Like I will. So, it's like,
an auction romance.
Yeah, exactly.
Or not a gambling romance.
Right, a gambling romance, and you're going to gamble yourself. So she ends up losing. And then and he has a big beef with one of the other players, and this guy wants her. So he's basically I'm going to take her because I want to fuck with this guy who's my enemy, that kind of bullshit. So this is Megan March, if you've ever read her books, it's real alpha coded. These guys are real dickheads, and it's great. And I love it. So India goes off with him, and then she doesn't know why. But something disrupts them. One of his guys says something to him and he tosses her out. And so she really is now really in trouble because she doesn't have the stakes to get back into a game. And she really wants to try and save her sister. So she's even more desperate than ever. So Jericho is going to reappear, offer to stake her. And so it's they have this real cat and mouse game as in the world of high stakes poker. And like I said, I enjoyed the first book quite a lot.
Nice.
And then the one other one I have is a motorcycle club romance called Devil's Game. Joanna Wild, her primary series is called The Reapers. And in Devil's Game, basically, and I liked it because it was kind of an offshoot, but she never revisited the theory, the story. The daughter of the president of the Reapers or whatever falls in love with a guy from another motorcycle club, and his motorcycle club, his name's Liam. And that motorcycle club is called the Devil's Jacks. So it's I'm falling in love with a guy from this other club. And there's a lot of drama about loyalty in this story, right? Because she should be loyal to her father and these men that raised her and the club that raised her. And instead she's meeting this this handsome stranger who is their enemy. It's it has big Romeo and Juliet vibes. So I really like that one too, because, I love those.
All right.
Those. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're just giving people what they want here.
Yes.
Okay. So I have two, but as you were talking, I was thinking of a third too. So, okay. The first one is obviously, I feel when you think about the devil, so what I was thinking is, what about books where the hero is in fact the devil?
The actual devil.
The actual devil.
Yes.
So of course I couldn't find any books where the hero was an actual devil, was the capital T, capital D, the devil. But Wicked Abyss, which everyone knows is one of my very favorite Immortals After Dark books by Cressley Cole. Also, if you've never read that series, you can read Wicked Abyss as a standalone. It is one of the few books in the series that actually really does work fully as a standalone. The hero is the king of what's called All Hells, which is a realm of the Immortals After Dark series that is basically hell. It's basically a terrible torture planet. And he is, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And he is the most, this is in actual fact, I did a little bit of the research on the actual history of the mythology of the devil when I wrote, that casino series that I wrote, that first book, A Rogue by Any Other Name. And the mythology of the devil is obviously that he's a fallen angel, right? So he's stunning. He's one of the most beautiful creatures in the world. And so in this book, the hero, it has always been an absolutely gorgeous, basically blonde Adonis of a person. But now he is going through this transformation into big horned, think Fantasia style.
Yeah, right.
Devil, which is really fine for me. So it's very hot in the context of Immortals After Dark. If you haven't read that series, horns are super sexual, they're like the sensation that demons get when somebody touches their horns is like basically like an orgasm times 1,000. And so it's great. It's a great one. I also want to talk about Alicia Rye's Hot as Hades.
Oh God, it's so good.
It's so great. So Hades this one's an erotic, like I think it's a short. It's
it's pretty short.
But in this one, Hades is he's like really, really, he's full of just boredom and like, he's just a very idle, like king of hell, just hanging around in Hades. And Persephone just like lands
literally in his lap, right?
Lands on his lap. And they are incredibly drawn to each other. It's super sexy. And there are these beautiful moments where Alicia writes when Persephone like is enjoying herself, flowers and like greenery just grow everywhere. So hell is this like very sparse, bleak, dark place. But every time Persephone feels pleasure, there's just like an explosion of life everywhere. And the actual writing of this is really beautiful. But it's also super hot. So, because you can't have a series where the hero is a devil or a demon and not deliver on the sex part, which is what I was thinking when I thought about the Demonica series by Larissa Ione. It might be Ione, I don't know.
When I first got my Kindle, I like mainlined that series. That's the only word for it. I just was like, I blew right through it.
So Pleasure Unbound is, I think, the first one in that series.
I think so too.
And that's the one that I would recommend starting with if you're at all interested in this. All the heroes in that series are, they're all demons, but the hero of that book is, he's like a type of succubus, or I think a succubus has to be a woman, so like he's an incubus maybe, I don't know.
Whatever.
Don't quote me on this, but he's one of those. And basically if he does not if he doesn't do it regularly, he's cursed. And but he's also a doctor, and he's really I feel like he's one of the early paranormal heroes who like has a little bit of like a little less of an edge.
I would agree with that.
The heroine is a demon slayer, which is sort of a perfect match, right? Demon slayer and demon.
I have one more that is not devil, but it's hell, and I feel like it's adjacent. So I wanted to talk about there's a series by Josh Lanyon called the Adrian English Mysteries. I've only listened to them. I've never read them with my eyes. And it's like, I think maybe 5 or 6 books. And in the Adrian English is the main character and the narrator. And he owns a mystery bookstore in LA. And so every book it's like very much like every book has its little mystery, and he's like the mystery bookstore owner, kind of like solving the mystery. But in the first book, this brings him into contact with this cop named Jake. And over the course of the 5 books, he and Jake have an affair and like break up, and Jake is closeted. And, there's like a lot of angst and drama in his relationship with Jake. And in book number 3, which is called The Hell You Say, there is the mystery. Is it about a satanic cult? And so basically Adrian, one of his, this guy that works for him named Angus, turns out is like mixed up in this cult and somehow brings the bookstore and Adrian to I don't know if I can't remember exactly, like if he's like trying to do some sort of Wiccan thing in the store itself after hours, but like it brings like essentially this whole cult is like then after Adrian. And he's like, these books, it's like the mystery in them to me is the mysteries are never like super high stakes. Like they're really telling us and teaching us about the characters, right? If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so we're really getting Adrian, who's kind of like, wait, like my employee is like bringing this to my door. And he ends up getting a phone call from this like really famous best-selling author who's into the occult, this guy named Gabe Savant. And so, like, it's all this, like, kind of boo, 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 all this stuff happening, and he's trying to figure it out at the same time that Jake is really about to break his heart and has decided that he should marry a woman. And so there's all of this drama. And I, it's funny because I feel like I'm talking about this book out, like, this whole series is so good. And because of the way Adrian and Jake's relationship evolves, I don't know if you could really start here if you care about that. Right. But I think it is a standalone in terms of introducing, like, the characters in this. So even though there's not a devil, there is the devil in the hell you say.
Well, I think we really did the job here.
Listen, I feel like we gave the people what they wanted. Gave me what I wanted.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. So it is October. Next week is Halloween. And if you just want to load up on books with devils.
Right. Not that kind of devil.
Books where men are very comfortable with sin.
Speaking of which, I didn't even talk about Downtown Devil by Kara McKenna, which is basically just like Kara McKenna's sex fest with these three people.
Perfect.
I mean,
that's a nice ending.
Exactly. Kara McKenna, bam.
Yeah, you can do all of this. Many of these books that we recommended, especially the historicals, are all in series. And so, pick one and then just get ready. You're off to the races.
Yeah. I mean, you can take a swim in the devil's bathtub. Ring the devil's doorbell. You have lots of choices, everybody. That's what we're saying.
We hope everyone is ringing the devil's doorbell this week. And yeah. Next week is officially Flowers from the Storm week, you guys. I'm reading it right now. I'm really having a great time.
He has a dog named Devil.
It's a beast of a book. I was not prepared for it to be 600 pages long. It's a delight, but it is very long. So get reading if you're going to read with us.
The audiobook is so terrific. It's Nicholas Bolton, and it's so good. Yeah.
Okay, this is not about Flowers from the Storm, but I do feel like all of our listeners would like an update on Unhinged.
Oh, yeah.
Valentine.
Yes.
I was sent, the Fated Mates Instagram account, which is at Fated Mates Pod, was sent a video of, I forget, I'm going to put the link, we'll put the link in show notes, but sent a video on Instagram of a reel of a man who had read Unhinged in audio. And apparently it comes with sound effects.
Oh.
Door hinges, knobs, wood. So take that as you will, my friends.
We all deserve nice things.
Yeah. If you're, piping spooky music and other things out into the world this week for Halloween, maybe the audiobook of Unhinged.
Listen, what a world. What a world, everybody.
We are, as you say, unmatched.
Okay, everybody. Have a good one.
Oh, wait. Can I just say one more thing? Also, if you live in Florida or near Sarasota, because Florida is a big state, on November 4th, I am going to be speaking at the Sarasota Off the Page Book Festival. Neil Gaiman is also speaking there, but everybody knows I'm the bigger name there. I'm the real draw.
Sure.
It's free and open to the public. We'll put links in show notes, but I would love to see you. Come say hi. I'll have Fated Mates stickers. We can take pictures and make Jen jealous.
Neil Gaiman's put some devils on page, but very different in vibe and tone.
Not the same.
Not the same. Good luck to everyone, though.
I'm Sarah McLean. I'm here with my friend Jen Prokop. We are Fated Mates. FatedMates.net is our website. You can find all the information on this episode and show notes there. You can also find a link to our Patreon there, where if you like our banter, you can get it once a month and all month long in the Discord with all the other magnificent Firebirds who have joined us there. Thanks to everyone who is already a member. If you're not, we hope to see you there sometime. You can find us on Instagram at Fated Mates Pod. You can find us on Threads at Fated Mates Pod. And then on Blue Sky at FatedMates.net.
Yes, all those things are true.
And we like reading about devils. If you think that we have skipped a devil that absolutely must get some attention this week, please let us know in comments at all of those places, or speak it into the world, I guess. Thanks everyone. Happy Halloween.